Moving to Southeast Queensland? Imagine having your rental property secured before you even set foot in Australia. At Minihan Group Australia, we help you find the right rental fast, so when you arrive, your new home is ready and waiting. Looking to buy instead? We'll work with your broker to get the process underway before you arrive, saving you time, money and stress. Minihan Group Australia, from rental to ownership, we make your move to Queensland simple, changing lives through property.
Welcome to the New Life in Australia podcast, hosted by me, Karen Bleakley, founder of SmartStepsToAustralia.com. Moving to Australia with my family was a life-changing experience, but it wasn't without its challenges. That's why I'm passionate about making the relocation and resettlement process easier for you, so you can enjoy this exciting adventure. Join me and my special guests as we share professional secrets and tips, learn from people who've made the move, and discover businesses that can help you realise your dreams. Now is the best time to create the life you've always wanted. This podcast is here to show you what's possible and to inspire you every step of the way. Let's go.
Let's take a moment to acknowledge the Gubbi Gubbi people, the traditional owners and custodians of the land on which I live, work and play. I thank them for the privilege of being able to live in such an incredible part of the world, and I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Hey there, welcome to this week's episode of the New Life in Australia podcast. This week I've been having a fantastic chat with Janice from Minihan Group Australia. We've been talking all about property in Southeast Queensland. So Janice is here to help you right the way through your property journey, from arriving in Queensland and helping you find your first rental in Brisbane, to helping you buy your first home and then helping you invest in property so that you can set yourself up for a financial future. So we had a great conversation. We covered so many different topics because Janice does have experience right across the board when it comes to property. So we talked about renting, about buying, about investing, about keeping your property in your country of origin if you decide to rent it out when you move over to Australia. And it was such a great conversation. Really excited for you to listen in today. So let's go ahead and roll the episode. Hey there, welcome to this week's episode of the New Life in Australia podcast. This week I'm chatting to Janice Minihan from Minihan Group Australia. Hi Janice, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are and who you help?
Hi Karen, thanks for having me. So my name's Janice Minihan. I am a licensed real estate agent in Queensland and I also am an estate agent in the UK. And I help people basically on any stage of their property journey, whether that be here or in the UK.
That's great. And a lot of property professionals kind of focus on one area, whether that's being a buyer's advocate or helping people with investments or helping people relocate and with rentals and that kind of thing. But you cover the whole spectrum of property, don't you? Can you tell us a little bit about it?
I do, yes. I've had many people tell me I should focus on one thing, but I actually love the variety and I love helping people wherever they're at on their journey. So whether they're starting out in Australia, Southeast Queensland, and they're looking for a rental, I can help them get started in that, navigating that space. If it's their first time purchasing a property, that's my favourite thing to do, is to help people buy property, get onto the property ladder and start building wealth through that means. I then do property management or lettings, as that we say in the UK, and sell if an investor or a person wants to sell their property as well.
Okay, so you mentioned there the UK. You've got a connection with the UK as well?
I do. I've lived there for 8 out of the last 11 years, so I have a similar business over there in the northwest of England, Burnley specifically, and we did a similar thing to what I do here. So we built portfolios for investors, sourced the property, we property manage it, and then we did the refurb in between that, and then when my owners want to sell, we take it to market for them as well. Since moving back to Brisbane, I love that concept and I'm building that here as well.
That's fantastic. I was just going to say, so you're in Brisbane too now, so you cover Southeast Queensland as a whole?
Southeast Queensland, yep, from the Sunshine Coast through to the Gold Coast, so Brisbane's in the middle, and then out to the Ipswich area, so that's my triangle. I do a lot of driving, but get to see a lot of property and I go wherever my clients need me to go.
Yeah, sounds really interesting because you've got a really wide scope of what you're looking at doing, so it must be a really interesting role.
No 2 days are ever the same.
I know I often see your Instagram feed and Facebook feed and things with all the different open homes you're going to and all the different places, and I can't keep up with all of the different events you're at and all the different places you go to.
Yeah, that's how I roll.
So for people who are just planning their arrival into the Brisbane kind of area, what is the rental market like at the moment? I know that everyone's always talking about how competitive it is and how impossible it is to get a rental here. What's your experience of it right now on the ground?
The vacancy rate in Southeast Queensland is between 1 and 1.25%. So it's really, really tight and really difficult. And some people tell me they apply for dozens of homes to be rejected. So in the end, some of them are really exasperated and come to me just for some help to do it for them. So I've developed a brochure for people that want to do it themselves to give them some tips and tricks on how to deal with agents, because by and large, agents are typically, in my experience, I've found that they're poor communicators. They aren't going to chase you in this market, and you have to chase them, and you have to chase them every day if need be to secure a rental. So some people, if you're international, you don't know the area, you don't know the system, you don't know Queensland has a lot of legislation, and I say 1,000 rules, but a lot of rules. So I developed this service because I came back 3 years ago from the UK. We had rented our house out and we wanted to move back to a different area. But when I started looking into rentals, it was a minefield, and I know the system, but I decided I wasn't doing what they say. They wanted a property resume, they wanted 6 months rent up front, you basically had to sell yourself. So we were just in the fortunate position we had a home, and unfortunately we had to give our tenants notice to move out so we could move back in. But then I saw there was a real need for people looking to get started that were just not getting anywhere. So that service came from that and is growing every day.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I know for me, when we moved 11 years ago, it was nowhere near this competitive as it is now. But I know that if I was moving now, I would be looking to secure the help of somebody to help me find a property that knows the area and knows what they're doing, just because I think it can be a big pain point. And when you're moving, you've got so much to do and so much pressure on your shoulders, and to have that stress of trying to find a home as well. And especially if you're living in a really expensive like Airbnb or short-term rental, it can quickly add up really quickly. So I'll pop a link to your thing that you were just mentioning to help you navigating it all yourself. I'll pop a link to that in the show notes as well. But that's really helpful. So with how the buying market's changed at the moment, obviously interest rates are coming down. How is that affecting homes to buy as well?
So it's all a very interesting landscape at the moment. So interest rates might be coming down, which just increases people's borrowing power. So what was already a really tough market is just becoming even tougher, because now there's more people in certain price points. And as an investor, as a mum, as somebody who's lived internationally and Australian, come back, I just think you just need to tap into a network, find people that you trust, and utilise their connections to get you where you need to go. So, I totally agree with you. I never even knew people like me offered this service when I came back. Hence why I thought I created it, but I found there are a couple of companies that do it. But it's just, you don't know what you don't know, and things are already stressful enough, really expensive. And an Airbnb might be 2 or 3 months rent, and somebody like me could have you a house when you land. And then to buy, and then buying has its own things that go with it, legislation, rules and regulations, stamp duty, all that kind of stuff, which I'm sure we'll delve into as we have a chat today.
My favourite phrase with buying is you don't know what you don't know when you arrive, because it's everything renting, buying, everything's so different over here. And if you don't know any of it, then you just opening yourself up to potential challenges and difficulties. So how can having the support of somebody like yourself, a real estate agent partner, really help change the experience and make it easier for somebody who's navigating it all in a new country?
Basically, I'm somebody's eyes and ears on the ground. And my philosophy is if I wouldn't live in it or I wouldn't invest in it, I wouldn't recommend it to any of my clients either. So the benefit of having somebody like a buyer's agent in your corner is they do all the legwork for you. So someone like me, I would, before we even get to that point, we have Zooms and whatever, can do so much on Zoom these days or Teams, and find out your criteria. What is it that you're looking for to make sure that the properties that we search for actually fit your brief? Because there's no point, but I can get anything accepted, but if it doesn't actually fit what you want, you're not going to be happy. So, a buyer's agent does all the negotiation for you. So I get a full criteria breakdown of what you're after, deposit amounts. I have my own power team that I can recommend people into, from solicitors to mortgage brokers to, building and pest guys. Whatever people need to make that transition easier is my goal. So we do the negotiation. I walk with them through conveyancing. I answer their questions. There's something like 10 pages of searches you can do in Queensland on properties, and just crazy. So just navigate that with them, because it's very overwhelming, I think, even if you are Australian, let alone somebody who's moved here and it's all brand new.
No, for sure. If somebody was planning to move to Southeast Queensland and it's their intention to buy quite quickly, maybe they've sold their home in their country of origin and they've got a deposit ready and they want to kind of come over here and buy really quickly, is it a realistic thing to do to buy quickly, or is it a much better idea to try to take on a rental for 6 months or a year to find areas you like? Or what's the best way of kind of jumping in when it comes to buying your home?
But the good news is the buying process here is a lot simpler than the UK, for example. Not sure what it is in different. Yes. Yeah, it's a lot quicker, maybe not simpler. But, so buying, if you know where you wanted to go and you've got the funds ready, I would always buy from within the country. There's whole stamp duty rules and foreign resident rules from buying from outside. So I would encourage everyone to never do that unless they've got specific advice that somebody would tell them, like a broker or an immigration lawyer, that's okay. So if you know where you want to go, you got the funds available and you're ready to buy, go for it, and you're here, go for it. But if you're not sure, somebody's told you this area is pretty good and you've never been here before, you've never experienced it, I really would encourage renting for 6 to 12 months just to get a feel for the lay of the land, know where the amenities are, schools are, that you're happy. And then, because at least if you're renting and you don't like the area, it's easier to move than it is if you've bought somewhere and the cost of having to sell that, that's a very expensive exercise.
Yeah. And I think you think that you know potentially the area from having done all of your research online. And when we moved to Moreton Bay, we spoke to friends who lived here who'd moved over, and we did tons of online research, and we thought we'd picked which school our kids would go to and roughly which suburbs we liked. But when you get here and you start driving around, you get a feel for which ones feel right to you. And actually, when we got here and started chatting to parents in playgrounds and things, and it opened up different school options that we hadn't thought of, and we ended up doing a lot more school tours than we expected and picking a completely different school in a different suburb to the one we thought we would want. So yeah, I think there is a lot of value in getting over here and just kind of getting started. And
getting a feel for area is really important, and that goes for anywhere. You can sense it. And like things like when I go out looking for my clients, I look at cars in the street. If they're missing all their hubcaps, maybe not the best sort of area to be in. Simple things. If the whole street, all the yards are mowed and the houses are well looked after, it's a pretty good chance that that area is all right.
And that's the thing is, when you're looking at pictures on realestate.com and .au and Domain, and you just see the picture of the property that's for rent, you don't see the surrounding areas as to what the neighbourhood's like and all of that sort of stuff. So that's where it pays to get somebody like you in that can check it all out. And is the road gridlocked all the time, or like all those little things that impact on the life that you live. So I think that's really important.
Yep. So using that local expertise, I reckon, really cuts down the time. So it's the time versus money thing, isn't it? And then there's
time and stress.
Yeah. And there's many people that come to me because they've been scammed. They've been offered a home online, or they've got it off Facebook Marketplace, and they've lost their money. so I get tagged in posts all the time because people are in this predicament. But once it's gone, it's gone. You're never going to get it, unfortunately.
Oh, it's so hard. I get a lot of that as well. People message me and tell me that they've had their money taken by a company that was not legitimate or was legitimate, but there's been a breakdown in communication and things have gone wrong. And it's very difficult.
Yeah. Hence why your website is, what you're doing by providing this platform.
I think that was a big inspiration for me, with connecting people with actual real services that are real people that you can actually speak to and hear from. And it does really make a difference to know that when you're appointing somebody, they are a real person at the end of the day, and they're somebody you're sending your money to, but they're actually going to be there to help you and be on side with you. So yeah, it really makes a difference.
Yeah, and being able to check out, like, if somebody's legit, they should have no qualms in sharing their license details or members of, organisations or bodies that they're part of. So due diligence is really important, whether you're buying a house, renting a house, or checking out people.
Yeah, for sure. Thinking of making the move to Southeast Queensland? Whether you're chasing the sun, starting fresh, or making a smart investment, Minihan Group Australia is here to simplify your real estate journey. We're your one-stop shop for all things property, whether it's securing your first rental, finding your dream home, selling for the best price, or managing your investment. From the moment you arrive to moving into your new home and beyond, we'll guide you confidently through every stage of the process. Minihan Group Australia, changing lives through property. Are there any local kind of quirks and things that you need to consider when you're moving to this area? Because I know that we had no concept of so many things when we moved to Queensland. We didn't think about flooding or the weather or air conditioning or any of those kind of things. What things should people be thinking about when they're moving to Southeast Queensland and they're looking at properties?
Yeah, flooding is a big one, and it's not one that many people think of, especially in Southeast Queensland. However, in the last, at least 15, 20 years, we've had several significant events. So the council websites are really, really good. So somebody like me, if you engaged an agent, they should do that on your behalf anyway. Check out the council websites and the specific address, and the councils give you what the flooding percentage is of that property, especially if you're buying, well, even if you're renting, but that's crucial, the flooding aspect. So air conditioning is really important in Queensland. And we don't have, in the UK, obviously you have your heating, but you don't have the aircon so much, or what we call here split systems, which can be cool in summer and warm in winter. So a lot of places, especially the older houses, so we could talk about older houses in a minute, might have one split system in the lounge room and one in the master bedroom. So, and that's typical of a lot of houses in Queensland. But those summer months, if there's no fans, there should be air conditioning, because coming from a cold country to here is a big culture shock.
It really is.
I don't know, but on the flip side of that, winter is usually pretty good. So, but a lot of those air conditioners work both ways. Ceiling fans at the very least. So the Queenslander properties, which are the character homes throughout Southeast Queensland, which are beautiful if they're well maintained, but they need to be well maintained and they require extra effort than a new build, say. So your brick houses. So that's, I guess they're two different types. And a lot of people that I deal with don't want to live in a wooden Queenslander. They want the brick home. It's a bit more easy to manage.
So there's so many different lifestyle options here in Southeast Queensland. How do you help people work out what area is right for them? Do people normally come to you knowing the kind of area they want to live, or do they come to you and say, we need to be X amount of minutes from the city or near a train line, or what information do they give you when are you coming to start sort of searching for properties for people?
A lot of people come with a job, which really helps narrowing down the area, because Brisbane is a really big place, and the Gold Coast and Sunshine Coast. So they might have a job and say, I want to live by the water, but that's not really always practical in terms of travel in Brisbane. So I always start with if they've got the job area, then travelling anywhere 20 to 30 minutes is normal to get if you're driving on a good day, really, isn't it? So we always do calls and we deep dive into what are their goals, what are their aspirations, why are they moving in the first place? Like, it is a big change, a big transition, especially if you've got family that you're bringing with you. And what do you hope to achieve out of it? And then we can talk about price points, whether it be renting or buying, the types of houses they're looking to go into, the forms of travel. So more and more people want to live near public transport. And whereas I live on the north side of Brisbane, and I would be going close to a train station rather than buses, because they don't, I don't know about you, Karen, but they don't really connect very well in my part of Brisbane, and they're slow. So for me, it's a train line.
And the trains are great here, actually. They're not, the country's not so well connected as the UK, but like Brisbane itself is very well connected.
And the government has this initiative of 50 cent each way, which is amazing to get people, to encourage people to use public transport. So, so they're all great incentives. So that's what I talk to people about and try and find the happy medium. If they want to live by the water, and they're working in the city, then we might look at places halfway. It's got to be practical. You don't want to commute all day. You could do that in their own country.
How do you see this part of the country changing and developing in terms of property over the next 5 to 10 years? If people are arriving now, have they missed that chance to get on the property ladder here, or are there still opportunities, certain areas that are up and coming that are worth getting into?
Oh, there's loads. There's always opportunities. You just got to know where to look or know people who can help you find that opportunity. But between now and the Olympics, I reckon is a great time to buy something, even if it's just getting your foot on the ladder, maybe with a unit or a townhouse initially, and then because the capital growth from having a property in Southeast Queensland will allow you maybe in 12, 18, 24 months to use that capital growth to buy something bigger and better, just to get started. And hence why having a broker. So I've got a really great mortgage broker, and I talk to her every few months because I want to know what my options are, where I can look. And the idea is to build a portfolio as quickly as I can to take advantage of this market for the next 7 to 10 years. And the fact is there are not enough properties for the people that are here. So the demand's there, the supply is low. So it's only going to push prices one way as far as I can see it.
Yeah. So getting here and getting started quickly is the answer.
Is the key, yeah. That's it.
So what does the negotiation process look like when it comes to somebody's found a property that they want? How does that all look?
So the different agents do different things. Some people, more and more people I've noticed over the last 12, 18 months want to sell off market as well. So if you can get in with agents that have properties off market where owners don't want to take it on market, because it is expensive here to get it on market for marketing costs and all that kind of stuff, there are deals to be done there. Being in the situation that a lot of properties are with multiple offers, so when I sell, I sort of like to create what I call a silent auction. So my aim is to get as many people to an open home and give them all an offer form as they leave and encourage them. Like, I always call back my people that have viewed that day and encourage them to put in an offer, even if they think it's silly. But then for my owner, obviously, if we have more than one offer, that's the ideal situation for them. So the rules are in Queensland, we have to issue a form if there's multiple offers, and they get a chance to put in their best and final. And so given the market where it is, that, like I've just sold one a couple of weeks ago, the difference between first offer and second offer is about $70,000. So that really works. And in this market, the owner was really happy.
Yeah. And then, like you said, the Queensland rules are one thing, but different parts of Australia have different rules. So again, it's about having that local expertise to help you through the negotiating process.
Every state has its own rules, and one agent, unless they're licensed in multiple states, which means they've had to do the training for each state, typically an agent's only licensed in one state.
Yeah. So you kind of touched on this a little bit before, but with people moving over to Australia, they've spent a lot of money on making the move, and it can make you feel like you're sort of taking a big step back financially. What's a good way with property to kind of start investing for the long term, to build that long term security? Is it like you were saying, just get on the ladder anywhere, even if it's something small, and then step up from there? What would you say?
Yeah, I say get on the ladder, but you need to do due diligence. Just don't buy something because for the sake of buying something, because you don't know. If you've done no homework, it might seem like the deal of a lifetime, and actually it's not. So use somebody you trust to help you with that. But yeah, the beauty of traveling and moving here, I believe, is you get that capital growth where I haven't seen that in the UK in the last decade as quickly as it's grown here. So I think it's a real great opportunity if you can afford to buy something, even if it's just an investment, you're not going to live in it. It can only serve you positively property typically doubles every 7 to 10 years by nature anyway.
It feels like it grows in value much quicker here than in the UK, for sure, having owned a property back there and owned one here for the last 10 years. So yeah, I've definitely seen a lot more growth here. When it comes to people moving over here, say from the UK, I know I hear a lot of people say they're debating about whether to keep their UK home and rent it out and move to Australia and sort of settle down here. Is it a good idea? Is there a lot to sort of navigate? Obviously, you run property companies in the UK and in Australia, so you have experience of that aspect. Is it easy to manage renting out a property in the UK while you live in Australia? And are there any difficulties with that, like remortgaging? Or obviously, I'm assuming you would need a property management firm like yourselves to take over looking after that property because you're in a different country.
And I think the crucial element is having a trusted lettings team. Let's say it's the UK. You have a trusted lettings team in the UK that will actually look after your property, which is why I do what I do, because in my town, there was no one there that I trusted, and any estate agent, full stop. So I was qualified and I did it here for fun because I just love property. But I was a primary school teacher and then started doing our own properties, and they needed management, and my investor friends doing theirs and they needed management, and they were like, well, you're qualified, can you just manage them? And I'm like, oh, well, that was never the plan, but it's funny how life turns out sometimes. But so that's why I do it.
I love that story though. That shows sort of the evolution of you going into it from experience, personal experience, and from passion from doing it as well.
Exactly. So that's why I do it now still, because I made a commitment to my owners, and we still have our own portfolio over there that needs managing. And unfortunately, what I've found in the UK is agents aren't trained the way Queensland agents are. We have to do a lot of training. There is a lot of legislation. And from what I've seen in the UK, there is none of that. So Queensland agents manage pretty tightly. And so that's how I apply it to my properties I manage in the UK. So if people are moving here and they had property over there, you need somebody who's going to look after your property, not just says they're going to look after it. They're actually going to do 6 monthly inspections. They're going to send you a report. They're going to report maintenance items to you. Like, having an agent you never hear from, while you might think that's amazing, it's actually not. That's really scary. So you should just be aware of who you're engaging to look after your interests, to make sure they are looking after your interests. My biggest thing, having properties in 2 countries, is the tax element. So depending on how you're structured, if you own it in your own name in the UK and you have a mortgage and then you're getting rent, just make sure you've got a decent property accountant who knows how to. I didn't realise leaving Australia, going to the UK, that there is a specific thing called a property accountant. And one accountant just can't do all of it. So, that's my top tip. And I didn't realise only a few years ago that the Australian tax rate is higher than the UK tax rate. So there's all these little nuances you learn along the way. But I am always happy to have a chat with people about having property in both countries and what I've found and discovered and had applied to me over the years, because I've had property over there now since 2015. So going on 10 years already.
And I think, again, it comes back to that thing, you don't know what you don't know when you're just doing this. You've got no idea what you're doing and who to speak to. So that's really great. So your links will all be here in the show notes so people can reach out to you with any questions that they've got. Just a quick question. Do you just cover around Burnley with your UK property sort of lettings?
East Lancashire. But I know a lot of people in my investor network. So if people have property in other parts of the country, I happily reach out to them to see who they'd recommend or whatever.
Now, we're on to the last question, but I've divided this up into 3 questions for you because you kind of cover a lot of different areas. So the usual question is, what piece of advice would you give to somebody who's moving to Australia? But specifically, if we do question 1 first, what advice would you give to somebody who's moving and needs to secure a rental?
Get in touch with somebody like me or me. Happy to have a chat and just offer experience from what I've found from being an agent. I'm in the market every day and I deal with lots of different, people, properties, problems, and get advice. Just share what your plans are. And a lot of people look on realestate.com.au or Domain anyway, so they've got a pretty good idea with what they're after. And we have a chat. We go from there. I would say if you're looking for a rental, ready to go for when you get here off the plane, 4 to 6 weeks is what I advise my clients to give me. I can usually pick up the property within 2 to 3, but 4 to 6 just lets me start evaluating the market and getting properties when they go through their cycle. Anything longer than that, they're not advertised.
So that's before people are moving, 4 to 6 weeks before they move, they should reach out to you to give you that time so that it's ready and they can just move into it and they don't have to spend money then on the Airbnb, which, as I say, I know when we arrived and we stayed in one, it was a fortune, for 4 weeks. It was very expensive.
It's really expensive. And then you've got to get out in the property market and go and find a rental and do your applications and chase the agents and all that kind of stuff. Whereas I think this way you save your money.
Or while trying to set up your driving licence and your Medicare and all of those things, it just takes that big task off your to-do list.
Exactly. Just go and pick the keys up. We sort the lease out. We sort the bond out. It's all done.
Sounds great. Now, what's one piece of advice you would give to someone who's moving to Australia who wants to buy their first home quickly when they arrive?
Talk to a broker who's experienced in most Australian brokers, well, like I think most places, they cover the whole country anyway, but I've got specific Brisbane brokers that I work with. And
do you mean mortgage brokers?
Mortgage brokers, yeah. So if you've got money sitting in an account, and there's there's an English lady, for example, that I know of who's a mortgage broker who deals with the UK visas, and she knows what they can borrow and buy and timeframes and all that amazing stuff, specific information. But I think unless you've spoken to a mortgage broker, unless you're buying cash, obviously, but make sure you're in the country, you will get stung with extra stamp duty. I think that's the biggest piece of advice. Talk to someone who's qualified.
The last part of the question, if you're moving, what tips would you give to somebody to set themselves up financially for the future when they first arrive in Australia? Or it doesn't have to be when they first arrive, but over the first few years as they're getting settled, to build that momentum and that financial security.
Property for me is a great way to build wealth, especially in Southeast Queensland, because you get the capital growth that we just don't see in other countries. The rental market's strong, so the benefit of a buyer's agent or someone like that is to try and not to make that divide. In the UK, you get positively geared property. In Australia, they work on a negatively geared model. So as a buyer's agent for investors, I try and make sure as best as I can get it neutral so that it's not costing the person much out of pocket, but then they get the upside of the capital growth as well. So as soon as you can, mortgage broker, financial planner, build your power team, talk to experienced people, not people down at the pub or, stuff like that. That it's just an opinion. It's not actual fact. So that's my top tip.
Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, well, thank you so much for coming on. Where's the best place for people to go to find out more about you?
So my website, minihangroup.com.au, has a discovery call link. I'm always happy to chat to people and book 30 minutes on there and go from there, whatever they want to chat about, property, whether it be buying, renting, anything, areas, doesn't really matter. I'm always up for a chat.
That's fantastic. Oh, thanks so much for your time today. It's been really helpful chatting to you.
Oh, thanks, Karen. It's been great. Enjoyed it.
So thanks again to Janice. I'll pop all of her details in the show notes so you can reach out and ask her any questions that you might have got. It was such a helpful episode, I'm sure you'll agree. So that's it from me this week. Let's get started building your new life in Australia, one episode at a time.